Hello. I don't know if, like me, you were very interested to hear the Home Secretary today talking about fining partygoers. But the more interesting news, I think, was last night, to read about Priti Patel's claims to have advised the Prime Minister to close our borders earlier last spring. Interestingly, she didn't say much about that today, and certainly she did not explain why we have the highest mortality rate. Instead, she went into predictable, repetitive mantra mode, the sort of thing we expect of Priti Patel, saying that we are in the middle of a dreadful pandemic, which we are. As for her garrulity yesterday, the claim and counterclaim about what should have been said by both Conservatives and Labour politicians is becoming quite deafening. Only in January, on the 4th, I think, or the 5th, there was a bizarre scuttle to get onto the right side of the argument about school closures. I think Borisson made the decision at 8 a.m. The shadow education minister insisted, in contrast, that schools should remain open at 10 a.m. and by 11 a.m. Keir Starmer was contradicting her and offering his opinion that they should all be closed. This catch-up game is done by people with an eye on their place in history. It's about posterity, not national health or security. And it's generally, this sort of game is generally a scramble by those who are destined to retreat pretty soon from the seat of power to the backbenches. That should give us a certain amount of confidence. But for the Home Secretary, this, what did she say? We should have closed our borders earlier. I was an advocate, she said, of closing them last March. That statement is a direct breaking of Cabinet collective responsibility. It's a phenomenal lack of professionalism. So what have we got from Priti Patel? We've got her appalling maths. We've got her bizarre repetitions when she is put under pressure. And now we've got evidence, and we've got allegations of bullying, of course, we shouldn't forget that. And now we've got this phenomenal lack of professionalism. So I take heart, really, from Miss Patel's loquacity and indiscretion. Of course, to her credit, she was personally accused by the Labour Home Secretary of leaving the nation's doors unlocked. Nick Thomas Symonds spoke on the 4th of January about the lack of a robust quarantine system that protects us from the variant strains of COVID. And he said this was effectively non-existent. And then he went on to give statistics. He said only a third of arrivals by plane who come into this country generally and genuinely go into quarantine on arrival. And this is despite a sort of follow-up, rather bland assertion that the border force have been checking and contacting 1,500 people daily. But I think, contacting people is hardly making sure that the people who are arriving in this country are genuinely going into quarantine and staying there. So we know how inflated is the Home Secretary's sense of her own worth. I think she probably couldn't take any more of this goading. So I understand that she felt that she couldn't keep silent in the face of such an assault. Well, that's not her job. Her job is not to explain what she had said in Cabinet. Her job is to be professional and take cabinet responsibility, to share that responsibility for the decisions made. Now, Jeremy Hunt has also been on record demanding an immediate lockdown, but he was not bound by cabinet regulations. Maybe it's time for him to return to a proper cabinet ministry. He has a very interesting choice of jobs, for it's clear Boris should not tolerate and cannot tolerate Patel's insolent disregard of cabinet responsibility. So he's got her job, or he's got, Gavin Williamson's car crash interviews about education last week. So that's two vacancies that he might very reasonably fill. So there's my tuppence halfpenny worth about Priti Patel. I'm sure it won't be the last thing we say about her, because although I predict her imminent departure, she has Boris's support, doesn't she? Rather like the man who went north for his eye test. So we can confidently say that she will be out of the door soon, but when is soon? God knows. It can't really come soon enough for me. Now, I've got some other things that I really want to talk about. I want to talk about Alexei Navalny very soon, possibly over the weekend. So do sign up, do follow me, and come back for that. I also want to do a few more talks about academic subjects, because I want to make sure that I'm supporting people who are doing homeschooling and who are in lockdown. The Alexei Navalny story is going to come to a head, certainly on the 23rd of January. So do keep an eye on that, because he has called on people to protest, to go out onto the street when he is brought to trial. And depending on the numbers, I think we can predict that he will be, incarcerated for a long time, or possibly let out of jail. We understand he has a series of pretty damning videos that will be released over the next few days. So come back soon. For now, thank you.